Up. Want to hear something kind of embarrassing? I didn't know what a cat's cradle was when I started this book. And I was almost done. I was talking to Christine about it. I'm like, I don't really know what a cat's cradle is. Did you? Did you know what a cat's cradle was? I have vague memories of my childhood. People playing with string before we had cell phones, you know? I thought it was a song by Cat Stevens. Is it a yo-yo trick? Kind of. It's you take some string and you make something that doesn't look like a cat's cradle, whatever that is, and it's just a thing it's just string. It's where you put a kitten to bed. Have you ever owned a cradle for your cats? Sounds like something you might see on TikTok. I forgot to poll you. Did you read the book? Let's just do yes, no this time. It's the name of the next Taylor Swift album. I believe it. So I had a weird experience reading this book. I hated the first 40 chapters, particularly the very beginning, to the point where I had to attempt a few times to even read it. It was really hard to get into. And I could give some context to how I chose this book. I've been wanting to read Vonnegut for a while because I know Kurt Vonnegut as a guy. I've come across Kurt Vonnegut quotes here and there that are very meaningful, I think. There's a line from Mother Night that I think about all the time. And I haven't even read that book. But there's a famous line from that book that's, you are who you pretend to be, so you should be careful who you pretend to be, something like that. I think about that a lot. Especially in the context of people talking about their authentic selves, the fact that Christine and I put a bunch of our life on the internet. I think a lot of people think they are a version of themselves based on who they want to be more than who they actually are, or based on what they actually do. I think it's just a brilliant line. And I think what's frustrating about Vonnegut is he does have these sort of brilliant lines. And I even I feel like even the start of this book did have these brief flutters of beauty. But for the most part was just a really unenjoyable read. But anyway, that was the first 80 pages. Okay. At least 36% of you read the book. Okay. So at least 40 or 50 people here read the book. It was banned in many schools because it addressed the issue of science and religion throughout the book. So, okay, I guess the science and religion thing is a really good duality to get into, I think, right away, because my reading of it is that the first 40 chapters, and it's a bunch of 2-page chapters, basically. So the first 80 pages of the book is a lot of parody of, or satire of scientists creating weapons. And another reason I picked the book is I knew Oppenheimer was coming out and I thought there might be some sort of parallel there, or I could use them as a foil against each other. But I felt like this first 80 pages of the book was mostly portraying these scientists as bumbling idiots in a way that just didn't land. I gather a lot of Vonnegut's work, he was a prisoner of war in World War II. He was in Dresden when it was firebombed. I think that context is useful for interpreting all of his work. Even in this book, there's a section where the world is ending and they're hiding out in a oubliette. That part was really compelling, and it feels like there's maybe a bit of drawing of personal experience of what it's like to be in a hole while the world is being destroyed outside. So I could understand if there was if there was a theme of anti-scientists creating weapons of war, which is what I think this was trying to do. but I don't, it just really didn't land for me in the way that it just completely, it was like super reductive of, you got some brilliant scientist who's just like some terrifying figure who doesn't know how to talk to people and is just like a bumbling idiot. And his supervisor gives an anecdote of how brilliant he is and that he developed this idea of Ice 9, something that can like instantly freeze any liquid. And like as if these people have no concept of the destructive qualities of it. I guess because I had just seen Oppenheimer 2, it really made it seem super reductive and kind of stupid, because that was a very sort of nuanced look at the scientists involved in the creation of the atomic bomb did grapple with the ethical consequences of it. Whereas this was just like, dumb bumbling scientist who's brilliant and invents weapons, but like doesn't even consider the ethical implications of it. It kind of felt like being in like an undergrad seminar where someone learns about like American imperialism for the first time and they reduce every problem in the world and every issue of geopolitics to America is bad. You know, like a lot of Twitch streamers. Having worked with big brain people who are bad at normal life, I wasn't put off by that section. Okay, maybe, you know, whatever your life experience is. I will say, and maybe this is my bias too, when the book did shift to them flying to San Marco, what was the name of the island? I don't know. Ripping this book apart, I'm here for it. Okay, but hear me out. I actually liked most of the rest of the book, and it got better and better as it went along, I think. Should I give a synopsis? A lot of you haven't read this book. I've just started talking. It's about a guy writing who started his he wanted to write a book about what happened the day the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So he reaches out. God, this is a confusing book to explain, actually. Okay, so he looks for the children of this Dr. Honecker, the father of the atomic bomb. One of them is a little person who's repeatedly referred to in the book as a midget, but I don't think that's a term people like anymore. And the other two children. Turns out their dad, not only had he developed the atomic bomb, but right at the end of his life had invented a material that could instantly turn anything with any water content in it instantly into ice, rock hard. And this obviously could just like destroy the world if it froze all the oceans or something, right? Chat freeze. Hello? Uh-oh. Am I still live? One second. Weird. All right, no chat. That's rough. That's gonna be rough. All right, we're talking here. I'm just gonna keep talking. How about that? Oh, bad lag. We're finally back. Jesus, that was long. All right. So this guy had invented this ice stuff called Ice 9. You kind of learn about his three children, who are mostly uninteresting, except that they're sort of like petulant children, all in their own ways, and have all, when their father died, they took this Ice 9 and invariably gave access to it to other governments around the world, and they all kept some for no real reason. And the point is, there wasn't any reason for them to keep it other than it's just an irresponsible thing for people to do, and people suck. So one of the brothers ends up on some island where he's like some second in command, and on this island there's the government there. The people who formed that society invented this religion called Bokanism. And the point is, I think, is that it's a religion that everyone just sort of understands to not be true, but they decide to believe in it anyway because it gives an otherwise absurd life some meaning. So a lot of the book is told through the framework of the author who converts to Bokanism, or Bokanon, will drop in these sort of anecdotes about, like, well, the Book of Bokanon says people belong to a Karas. And a Karas is like, there's some things that are, that defy any explanation but tie people together. Unlike those wampaloons like countries or fans of sports teams or religions, which are all sort of false ways of people coming together and forming communities. Like there are different secret ways people actually feel connected, which is the same for every religion, I guess, right? But I found this portion of the book way more interesting than the sort of satire of the scientists in the first 80 pages, because the idea of a society formed on a known false religion where they've decided to outlaw it because they just means that will make people believe in it and actually have something to believe in it and ignore their otherwise totally depressed and unfair human condition. So they're having some sort of is this still a synopsis? They're having some military ceremony for the people, for the men of San Lorenzo that died in the Second World War, and one of the fighter jets crashes into the side of a mountain where like their castle is, and the Ice Nine is in the castle. It falls into the sea, and it turns the entire sea into ice, and a bunch of tornadoes form, and the world ends. And so you've just got our protagonist and some of the kids who survived left there, and they don't really know what to do with themselves. And our protagonist meets this Bokanon figure that we've never really seen, that we've never met. We've only heard him through his writings. And he sort of tells our protagonist the end of his story is to, you should just read it. He tells him what to do, like the last page of the book, because the protagonist is like, I just don't know what to, I don't know how to end. And he reads from Bokanon the last part of the Book of Bokanon that says, if I were a younger man, I would write a history of human stupidity, and I would climb to the top of Mount McCabe, the tallest point on the island, and lie down on my back with my history for a pillow, and I would take from the ground some of the blue-white poison, the Ice Nine, that makes statues of men, and I would make a statue of myself lying on my back, grinning horribly and thumbing my nose at you-know-who. Dr. Strangle. There is sort of a Dr. Strange love, and how I learned to love the bomb feel to it. And that ending is actually pretty satisfying, because I gather a lot of Vonnegut's work can be sort of reduced to the human condition is absurd, and we all just gotta do what we can to get by while we're here, love each other, and give a big middle finger to the powers that be. So I started hating this book, and by the end I was actually pretty happy with it. But I'm not surprised a lot of people didn't read it, because I wouldn't blame anyone for just getting, as easy as it was of a read, I read most of it in the last day and a half maybe. Life like was beautiful woman a metaphor for something, or just a guy author putting in a beautiful woman for no reason? Oh yeah, so our protagonist had a love interest, I guess you could say. Although that was really there wasn't a lot of bloom on that rose, because I guess the point of her character was that it's she's this incredibly beautiful person but had no humanity. I don't know. I don't know. Does anyone have an idea of what the point of that character was? When they first introduced this woman, the narrator, our protagonist, implies like she was the love of my life, and it's told from what I thought was the current perspective But I think at that point in the book, he had never met her. This is Mona. Yeah, we're talking about Mona. Mona was a little strange. The only interesting thing about the relationship is once he, because he gets appointed to be the president of the island, like, he gets to marry her. And he's talking to her about how in her religion, I guess it's everyone can love everybody else. And he's like, oh no, if we're married now, like, I need to control you. You can't love other people. And that interaction was kind of funny. Yeah, he was annoyed that she didn't love him for no reason. Yes. He changed himself and his beliefs to cater to her. Yeah, our author seemed... that was kind of interesting how he gets offered this opportunity to be like the president of the island because the president's dying and the one of the sons of the guy who invented the bomb is just like a technician and doesn't want to actually be in charge of anything. I think that's more about him just like accepting the absurdity of life and ending up wherever. But yeah, the motivation to also... it kind of implies he had already made up his mind that he wanted to accept the role even before he realized it came with the hot babe at the top of the tower, I was going to say the female characters seem very one-dimensional, but all the characters were pretty one-dimensional. That's true. And that was a problem for me early on as well. Actually, throughout the whole book, occasionally characters would be introduced as... Actually, I'm curious to hear people's perspective on this. Because sometimes it's important for books to do an amount of world building that feels like there's... The book takes place in a world that exists outside of just the characters' experiences, I think. And I thought this book would, like, kind of do that by being like, here's one chapter, which is like a couple pages, of just like an anecdote about some other person who landed on this island 100 years ago. And sometimes, like, the only purpose of showing that would be to, like, have some sort of cheap punchline or a joke that wasn't very funny, or maybe make just another pretty overt point about how war is stupid. And that felt kind of tired at a certain point. Like, it's not really world building if you're just like, oh, here's a page dedicated to telling you something else that happened in this world that's, like, completely unrelated to what's going on. Like, the history of the island was awkwardly presented, I thought. Although that's when the book started to get good, at least. Yeah, Cemetery, Stone Angel. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff going on here. So another book with poorly written female characters. That's just the hallmark of Booktendo at this point, no? That hasn't been true of every book. Remember that Vonnegut was a prisoner of war in World War II in that context of his cynicism. Is that trauma? Yes. Apparently Vonnegut rated this one of his better novels. Someone in the Discord had showed that. Where was that? I'd seen this before, actually. Can you read that? Apparently at one point he had rated his own books in Cat's Cradle and Slaughterhouse-Five, his most famous book, easily, where the only two books of his he rated as A+. So again, another reason I thought this might be a good introduction to his work. I'm reluctantly intrigued to read some of his other stuff now. At least Slaughterhouse-Five. I started the next book and I'm not sure I'll finish it. Oh. I mean, we're taking a pretty sharp left turn. Rashida, Slaughterhouse-Five is much better in my opinion. Okay, good to know. I do have it. I'll read it eventually. Welcome to the Monkey House? Oh, if I had known there was a book called Welcome to the Monkey House, we definitely would have read that. Just read the book with a quote you like. Otherwise, that book sounds very strange to me. Although, if the book is about that quote, then I think I would like it. Welcome to the Monkey House. Next month's book is I'm Glad My Mom Died, a memoir by Jeanette McCurdy. So we're dipping our toe in nonfiction. I see some people have already started reading it. I changed it from, it used to be The Old Man and the Sea, right? Yeah, sorry. Discord is the only place where we're sort of keeping all of this stuff updated. Who is she? Jeanette McCurdy was a child actress, and it's kind of about, I gather, I've heard her, I've seen an interview of her talking about it. It's about her abusive relationship with her mother, who pushed her into child acting. She was in iCarly. I'm too old for that. Was that a Nickelodeon show or something? She was Sam in iCarly. She worked with Ariana Grande on some kids show. That was iCarly? Was Ariana Grande Carly? Or Miranda Cosgrove? What's iCarly? iCarly was an American teen sitcom. Dan Schneider. Starring Noah Monk, Jerry Trainer, Miranda Cosgrove, Nathan Kress, and Jeanette McCurdy. Why do I know who Miranda that name's familiar. Ariana was in another show. What is Miranda Cosgrove known for? Music? School of Rock? Oh. She was in Drake and Josh. I didn't watch that either. When were these shows on? When was iCarly? 2007. Okay, I just finished high school. You know, not watching Nickelodeon. Not to be super judgmental, but whenever I see an adult watching cartoons, I'm kind of like, you know, there's media made for us now, right? You want to hear my boomer take? Like when people are really into like Family Guy as an adult. Like, okay. It depends on the cartoon, boomer band. I'll accept that. I could understand it in like a nostalgic way. Like if I threw on some old 90s like Transformers cartoon, I could enjoy it in like I remember what it was like to be 10 years old and full of hope. Or I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm being hyperbolic. I'm sure there is good art that exists in cartoon form. I've never seen any. Once in a while, someone reminds me I've never seen like a Studio Ghibli film, however you say that. Or something that came up in. We were talking about Oppenheimer. I thought I saw a comment about this. Some of the criticism of that was that it didn't depict the victims of the atomic bomb and the US's decision to drop those. And someone recommended an anime or a cartoon movie about that experience from the perspective of a Japanese children. That sounded like super heartbreaking. Grave of the Fireflies, yeah. I would, I want to watch it. But I don't think I would make it a Filmtendo film, because I don't want to encourage anyone to watch it who isn't like ready to take that on. I've heard it's a very heavy movie. It would be like making Schindler's List, a film club film, you know? Which is a great movie, but although I do have an issue with Schindler's List. How do we get here? And I think I stole this argument from... Was it Tarantino, I think, said this. Schindler's List was Spielberg's movie about the Holocaust and one guy who saved a lot of Jews. And it's a beautiful, terrible... It's a film worth seeing. But it is strange that this sort of... probably the most famous movie about the Holocaust is kind of like almost it's a story about like a success in it, about this particular case where someone did save a bunch of people. And it's like, that's not really the story of the Holocaust. And that's like a very maybe Spielberg or Hollywood thing to do on it. You know what I mean? Chat's frozen again, so this is just hot takes with Ben. Odd spin? Who, my take on it, or did you ever see The Pianist? I saw it when it first came out, but also I was hanging out with this girl once, and she said her favorite movie was The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. And I'm like, okay, we could watch it. I had no idea what it's about. And it's like, why would this be your favorite movie? Like, it was so fucked up. It's another Holocaust movie. The red flag. I'm not saying she thought it was like good or funny or something, but it was just, I don't know. I get what you're saying. Most real stories of war are depressing with a sad ending. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean. Don't judge people on their favorite movies. I remember once, some years ago, someone tweeted out, like, what are your 3 favorite movies? And I responded to it. And what did I say? Oh, Hazard Balthazar. And then I remember thinking, I got to include a Kubrick movie. And I can never decide what my favorite Kubrick film is, so I think I just said, I think at the time I just said Clockwork Orange. Because I feel like it's, even if it's not his best film, I think the subject matter and the themes are maybe the most interesting. And I remember some random woman replied to me just being like, yikes, this is like first year bro in his first year in film school favorite picks, and that's really stuck with me. I'm like, should I take that as a compliment? Because like, I'm just a casual enjoyer of movies. I'm not in film school at all. But it was also like super dismissive, like, oh, you just like the things guys like The Godfather. Like in the Barbie movie, when one of the ways they manipulate the men and distract them is like, could you tell me all about The Godfather? And then the Ken is distracted to just talk about The Godfather. And I'm like, am I that guy? Have I been that guy at some point in my life? Probably. I've probably been on a date with a woman and just told her all about The Godfather. And she probably did not care at all. You can see it. I can see it. One of my first dates with Christine, we met at a coffee shop, and I was like, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show up in a sports jacket and a bow tie, and she's going to think I'm so cool. So I probably told her about The Godfather. I mean, we were in grad school. We were sort of living that. I was like, oh, I'm sort of role playing. I'm cosplaying as like a professor, trying to decide if that's the kind of life I wanted for myself. I love The Godfather. Silly munchkins, I love The Godfather too. Now we just got to tell all these other women why The Godfather is the best movie ever. Bow ties are cool. Bow ties are pretty cool. I know how to tie a bow tie. Do you know how to tie a bow tie? Probably not. That's our next question. Do you know how to tie a bow tie? I doubt it. I love the White Lotus scene about The Godfather. I haven't seen any of White Lotus. Should I? I just started watching The Bear. I'm just about to watch the season finale of the first season of The Bear. So I just watched the episode everyone said is where the show gets really good. How do I like it? It was hyped up a little too much for me. So I enjoy a lot about it. Although I do find myself sort of sitting back and being like, as cool and stylistic as the show is, the idea of, no spoilers, but a lot of the show depicts like running this sandwich shop as if it is like a Michelin star restaurant. And that just seemed very silly. Yes, chef. Corner. We talked about like 5 minutes of Cat Cradle. Do you have anything else to say about Cat's Cradle, Valentina? Did you even read it? Wait, I missed what show is this? The Bear on FX. I got Disney Plus just so I could watch it. I liked Cat's Cradle. And there's definitely more we could talk about with it. I'm finding these book clubs just a little awkward because it's a very one-way conversation. I appreciate all your chats and stuff, but it's different than... That's why I brought Jessica Schmessica in one time. Because it's easier to talk about a book. It's easier to have a conversation about a book you just read rather than just speak it into the world. Discord voice channel is always an option. That's true. Yeah. Is that expecting too much to just put people's voices on the internet? Maybe I'll just get a phone number and people can call in like one at a time. That requires others being comfortable. It requires me being comfortable and you being uncomfortable. We need more guests. I'll try to get Matt on for a book. Yeah, I'll talk to Matt about what book we could read. He's a voracious reader. Maybe I'll let him pick a book. We have books picked up until when? Where's the pin? Is that updated? Okay, so yeah, today was Cat's Cradle. End of the month, Jeanette McCurdy. September is Frankenstein. October is The Shining. So November, maybe November, we let Matt pick the book. And we'll invite him. Invite him along for the fun. Also, for anyone who's not on Discord and only joins these on YouTube, these are the books and dates, by the way. I keep forgetting to make a post about it. Is the August 27th date going to get pushed by Menchie Gang? Possibly. I need to talk to Christine about that. Yeah, maybe. One way or not, please keep it going. Invite whomever to do it yourself. Just don't stop. Nicole. Thank you, Nicole. Is that Michael? I thought that was Michael Jackson. What is your profile picture? Is that Michael Jackson? That is indeed Michael Jackson. Okay. So I'm distracted. I'm not ending book club. I'm just telling you, some of these book clubs I've been able to just like talk about the book for an hour just on my own. Whereas even if I like the book, sometimes I think it's harder to just expound on. You know what I mean? To just get up in front of people and just talk about something. Sometimes that comes easily, sometimes it doesn't. And most of you don't know how to tie a bow tie. We could provide discussion points before stream. Yeah, originally my idea with the Discord was to allow that to be a place of discussion, and then maybe I could pull from that. People were talking about it. I wonder if there's a way I could just organize those posts in a way that leads to like book club discussion questions. Whereas I think now it is mostly people's reviews of the book. Like, yeah, finished, yeah, which is cool. And I appreciate it. I did read through this, actually. I thought people had some good points. And it's Shannon. I think it's Shannon. Are you you always post these actual reviews, eh? If it hadn't been for book club, I wouldn't DNF'd. The short chapters were a fun change from the norm. I was mad about the book until the last 20%, then it got decent. That's fair. The theory of something like Ice Knight existing using a world destroyer for your own games was interesting. Book overall wasn't really something I found myself looking forward to reading, and I usually type to stay up all night reading if I don't limit myself, and yeah. There's a band called Ice Knight. Should we read Shannon's review? Should you read Cat's Cradle? What? Oh, what did you pick as Call Me Jonah? Oh, from the opening. Oh, I never really revisited the very beginning. Call Jonah. Yeah, what was the Jonah? Is this some biblical allegory that's escaping me? Because his name was John, right? So he's always like, call me Jonah. What is he, inside a fucking whale or something? Yeah, is he the whale guy? A freelance writer sets out to create a book detailing the events of the day the atomic bomb was dropped in here. Maybe I'll skip summary. I'd like to start by saying the book was published in 1963, 1 year after the Cuban Missile Crisis. During time is far less socially progressive. A certain level of sexism, racism, and so on, more or less standard. Yeah, the book did have some very things that would not be put in a book today. Ableism. Yeah, I guess we're talking about the Newt character. The whole Newt character and the... Although I will say our protagonist, and I think the author's perspective, was respectful of a character who has... Is dwarfism the medical term for this? I have to admit, this is one thing where I feel like I've lost track over what people think is the respectful way. Like, when I was a kid, people would use the word midget respectfully, I think. But is that a slur? Everyone else is not respectful of Newt? Yeah. Yeah, people are very condescending to him, including his own sister. Yeah, little Newt this. The condescending hand on the shoulder, treating them like a child. Little people doesn't seem more respectful to me. But dwarfism, I don't know. See, I don't know. I personally had difficulty distinguishing what point the book was trying to make because it presented a lot of awful situations in a way that made it seem as though there is no solution. Or at least none of the characters are able to understand and implement. Yeah, I think this is the point, though, right? And I think that's sort of an overarching theme in all of Vonnegut's work is like, the human condition is tough. Let's all just try to get through this however we can. Which is a pretty depressing view of the world. Books intend to be nihilistic, fostering the idea life's meaningless and unfair and painful. There's nothing to be done about it. But I think I reject that like totally pessimistic reading, because I feel like there's at least some humanity in people's shared experience of the tragedy of life. I think that would be a slight pushback to this, even if it's mostly, I think, fair. Should you read the book? You should consider whether you have an interest in reading its type of satire and whether you have a tolerance for its degree of nihilism. And I think the humor of it, the book is supposed to be humorous. There are elements of dark humor in the book that that may or may not land for people. I think that's maybe the biggest determinant of whether or not someone will enjoy the book. And not even just dry humor, it's like dark humor. It's like on the island, there's a guy who opened a hospital, and they were dealing with a plague outbreak. And so the guy who's running the hospital, just trying to save people, his son is there. And there's one of the chapters ends with him like laughing uncontrollably at like all the death and disease around him. And the son's like, "What are you laughing at?" And the dad's like, "One day this will all be yours." Like, that's funny in a really dark way, right? I think that might have been the funniest part of the book. There was one point where the sister, one of the children, the daughter of the Dr. Honecker, who invented the bomb and Ice Nine, I guess she's like a pretty brat of a person. She's really condescending to Newt, and she's getting all worked up that people didn't respect her father enough, even though her father in this book is clearly a figure of like having brought on the destruction of man through technology. Anyway, she's like complaining he didn't get paid enough and whatever. She's getting herself worked up, and her brother's like, "Oh, go get your clarinet, it'll help calm you down." And that's not like a joke. Like, the only thing she's good at is playing the clarinet. And I guess before you knew that, when they're just like, "Oh, just get your clarinet," and they say like, "Oh, she lived entirely just to take care of her father, and then when he died, she had nothing to do. The only thing she ever did for herself was play a clarinet along to music." And there's a scene where she goes to get the clarinet for the first time, and it starts describing it that she's not playing along, or that they're just playing some music for her to play to, and she's not actually playing it. And for a second, I thought the joke was going to be that she doesn't actually play the clarinet; she just plays along. So that like they put on a record, and she just pretends to play the clarinet, which would have been way funnier. Because it turns out she's actually just was not playing yet, and then she starts playing, and it's beautiful and serene, and it's more about the absurdity of like sometimes people are just like awful and bad people and annoying and don't have a lot of depth and are stupid, but you know, they're just amazing at this one thing, and it brings you to your knees and makes you question everything about life. And like I think that was sort of the point of that section, but it would have been way funnier if she just like, "I'm just playing the clarinet. Whoop, 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 whoop." I'd encourage you to try persevere until you reach the ending. In my opinion, it's easily the best part, and it seemed to me in hindsight the entire rest of the book was leading up to it. Yeah, I totally agree with this. The book got better the further into it you got, up until the very end. Yeah. There's that first hurdle after like the first 80 pages, and then the book just gets progressively better as you go. Also, should I take this opportunity to apologize for calling a mathematician the wrong name? I should get this right. Who was talking about this? Was it in book club or film club? Where was that? I think I called him Goebel instead of Godel. You know what I'm talking about? Rashida, you still here? You know what I'm talking about. I think it was you who corrected me. It was Gödel. Yes. Kurt Gödel? Not Hitler's second in command, Joseph Goebbels. Yeah, not that. Is it Kurt Gödel? And yeah, I want to fact check that story about his death. I think he didn't trust anyone preparing his food other than his wife. Do they have it? Huh. Career. Suffered periods of mental instability and illness following the assassination of his close friend. Developed obsessive fear of being poisoned. Would eat only food prepared by his wife, Adele. Adele was hospitalized beginning in late 1977. And in her absence, Gödel refused to eat. Weighed only 65 pounds when he died of malnutrition and inanition. Yeah, sad story. Okay, now Fall Guys? No Fall Guys. Actually, I probably got a jet, but tonight is movie. Filmtendo? What do we call it? His wife did not... Did I say his wife killed him? Did I misspeak? What are we watching? We're watching Lady Bird. Continuing with the Barbenheimer theme. Oh, someone else in chat said that. No. Yeah, I've never seen any other Greta Gerwig film other than Barbie that just passed $1 billion. Greta Celeste Gerwig. What is her filmography? Hannah Takes the Stairs. Nights and Weekends. So Lady Bird was sort of her breakout, right? Then Little Women. Is that Florence Pugh Pugh? Was she in that? Then Barbie. Snow White. Greta Gerwig's doing a Snow White Disney movie? Why? Don't do that. Ben, can you pronounce Saurus Ronan correctly? Saurus? I can't pronounce that correctly. How do you say that? Saoirse? 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 Who even is that? Are they in the new American-born Irish actress known for... Oh, is she in Little Women or something? Saoirse? Saoirse? Ronan? Ronan. Little Women, I see. Anyway, we're gonna watch Lady Bird tonight. I actually don't know anything about Lady Bird. It's about a lady, I think, who turns into a bird. Have you seen Birdman? It's like Birdman, but for ladies. Filmtendo is today at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. In Canada, it's available on Crave. In the US, I think you need an add-on to Prime or something to get it. Or you could rent it for like $2. $3? I don't know. Petition for Saoirse to star in a samurai movie titled Ronin. Morgan, thank you for posting in the Discord channel. Actually, if someone wants to post a link to Discord for anyone here who doesn't know about it. Thank you. 5 p.m. Pacific? Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Little woman. If I didn't have to work tomorrow, I'd join. It's not a long... How long is it? That's the wrong movie. We started 8. It's over at what? How long is it? Is it 8:24? Oh, cool. Where's the length? 94 minutes. Hour and a half. Oh, it's 3 a.m. for you? Yeah, that's rough. I get it, Kim. You don't want to wake up at 3 a.m. watching a 94-minute movie? It's normal. That's good for your sleep. I put a short in the book club area. Uh-oh. Risky click.
How to pronounce Saoirse Ronan?
It's Saoirse, but it's easier for Americans and English people to say Saoirse or Sasha.
What was the difference?
Saoirse is how Irish people say it.
Wait, why are they talking to each other? Was she in a movie with Margot Robbie? Was she in the Barbie movie? What should I get for dinner? Dumplings or sushi? An albatross sandwich. Huh? Thanks, Rashida. Thanks for coming. I thought there might be like no one here. Just knowing that I don't think this book was super well received. But, and I was very pessimistic about it after trying to read the first few chapters. But I dig it. I dig it. I gotta grab a copy of Jeanette McCurdy. I already have a copy of Frankenstein. I need to find a copy of The Shining. I'll talk to Matt about picking a book. And yeah, and I think I'm also trying to do Filmtendo like every 2 weeks or something like that, where we just pick a movie and watch it. There'll always be someone here. just you shit. If I ever pick, like, if the books just get worse and worse, eventually it'll just be me and you. All right. Well, on that note, what do we want to play us out? What's need something appropriate. Can't find a Cherry Chapin. Isn't it by...
A child arrived just the other day. He came to the world in the usual way, but there were planes to catch and bills to pay. He learned to walk while I was away, and he was talking for I knew it, and as he grew, he'd say, I'm gonna be like you, Dad. You know I'm gonna be like you. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man in the moon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. You know we'll have a good time then. My son turned 10 just the other day. He said, thanks for the ball, Dad, come on, let's play. Can you teach me to throw? I said, not today. I got a lot to do. He said, that's okay. And he walked away, but his smile never did. It said, I'm gonna be like him, yeah. You know I'm gonna be like him. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man in the moon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. You know we'll have a good time then. He came from college just the other day, so much like a man I just had to say, son, I'm proud of you, can you sit for a while? He shook his head and he said with a smile, what I'd really like, Dad, is to borrow the car keys. See you later, can I have them, please? And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man in the moon. When you're coming home, son, I don't know when, but we'll get together then, Dad. You know we'll have a good time then.